The untold story behind Luka Doncic. There's not much doubt Luka Doncic is one of the most promising young stars in the NBA today. Many experts and analysts believe he will be the next superstar to come from Europe and land on American soil. Although this is very believable, the upbringing and past of Luka Doncic is something not many people know about, and when you hear about Doncic's life before the NBA, you will be in awe. Who will land Luka? The build-up to the 2018 NBA draft was electrifying and filled with a variety of different opinions from so-called experts. It was pretty obvious of who most experts and fans believed were the top 4 prospects available. The only question was what the order of these picks was going to be. It was thought by many that DeAndre Ayton, the freshman big man out of Arizona, would be chosen first overall by the lowly Phoenix Suns. The Sacramento Kings, Atlanta Hawks, Memphis Grizzlies, and Dallas Mavericks rounded out the top 5. It was pretty clear Marvin Bagley III out of Duke would be selected somewhere in the top 5, along with 19-year-old phenom Luka Doncic and Michigan State star freshman Jaren Jackson Jr. An intriguing question was, where would offensively gifted Trae Young out of Oklahoma land? Darko Milicic, Nikolos Skitishvili, Andrea Bargnani. Do any of these names sound familiar? I don't think so. Believe it or not, these are all former top 5 picks. What do they have in common? All 3 players entered the draft straight out of Europe without any high school or college experience in America. Names like these are the reason New York Knicks fans booed Kristaps Porzingis when he was drafted 4th overall in 2015. The risk is high because the competition is not as strong overseas, and many scouts are skeptical that the skills of these players will translate over to the best of the National Basketball Association. With that being said, there are names like Dirk Nowitzki, Paul and Marc Gasol, and last year's MVP, Giannis Antetokounmpo, who have come from European countries and have been extremely successful in the league. Organizations spend countless hours traveling, trying to find the next diamond in the rough. Former St. John's University head coach and current ESPN college basketball announcer Fran Fraschilla does a lot of traveling into foreign countries, scouting players that the general fan may not know too much about. He was not buying into the hype around Doncic leading up to the draft night. I think he's going to be a very good NBA player. If I were to rate him the way teams rate guys, which is all-star, starter, rotation player, fringe player, etc., I would say he was going to be a very successful starter in the NBA, with a chance at times to be an all-star, but I do not see him as a transcendental talent in the way we look at Dirk over a 20-year career, or even potentially Paul Gasol or even Manu Ginobili. Doncic is only 20 years old, and he's already starting to make Fran eat his words. With the 3rd-round pick in the 2000 NBA draft, the Atlanta Hawks select Luka Doncic from Ljubljana, Slovenia, in Real Madrid. Those were the words coming from Adam Silver at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn on draft night. This was not a surprise to many, as Doncic, rocking a Hawks hat, walked across the podium to dap up Silver. But what happened a few moments later was extremely surprising to many. Minutes after the Hawks drafted Doncic, it was announced that he was going to be traded to the Dallas Mavericks in exchange for Trae Young and a 2019 first-round draft pick. The Dallas Mavericks were afraid that Doncic would be selected by the Grizzlies, and by offering the Hawks a first-round pick and the player they wanted in Young, the trade worked out. The Mavericks were ecstatic. To be able to select a young man who they thought was the best player in the draft with the 5th overall pick was a huge win for the franchise. The question still remained, not only amongst Maverick fans, but all NBA fans, who is Luka Doncic? Luka Doncic was born in Ljubljana, Slovenia. His father, Sasa, is a basketball coach and former professional basketball player. Doncic first touched a basketball when he was 7 months old and started shooting on a miniature hoop around the age of 1. He played a variety of sports in his childhood, including football, American soccer. At age 7, he began playing organized basketball at his elementary school in Ljubljana. Doncic was always one of the youngest players on the court, and he learned at a very early age that he was not going to beat players with his size, strength, or athleticism. Luka was going to have to develop a supremely high skill level and use his smarts and knowledge of the game to outclass his opponents. When Doncic was 8 years old, his father joined Slovenian powerhouse Union Olimpija and Doncic joined a team with other children born in 1999. Doncic dominated this age group so quickly that according to ESPN's Mike Schmitz, Luka moved up to the 1996-born group just 16 minutes into the first practice. This was the moment Doncic knew he could play. After a full practice with the older kids, Doncic then bumped up to the Olympia selection team, where he competed against players 3 to 4 years older than him. Due to league rules, the 8-year-old Doncic wasn't allowed to compete at the under-14 level, but he tore through his own age group and played a role off the bench on the under-12 team as well. As a 12-year-old phenom representing Olympia in an under-14 tournament in September 2011, Doncic was named tournament MVP. The next year, Doncic won another tournament MVP award, playing as a rental for Real Madrid in an under-14 Spanish club competition. Doncic, who was among the youngest players on his team, averaged 13 points, 4 rebounds, 2.8 assists, and 3.3 steals per game. A couple of months later, he took part in the under-13 Lido di Roma tournament for Olympia, finishing as an MVP and leading scorer with 34.5 points per game. In the semifinal round of the event against Victoria Firma, he posted 29 points and 15 rebounds in a title-clinching win over Lazio. He erupted for 54 points, 11 rebounds, and 10 assists. The legend of Luka had begun. Real Madrid days. Doncic was only 16 years old when he began his professional career. He signed with well-respected Real Madrid of the Liga ACB, making him the youngest player to ever play for this franchise in the ACB. Luka made his only three-point attempt in 2 minutes of action in his debut on April 30th, 2015. Although he only played in 5 games during his first season, he had built a name for himself and his journey had begun. The following season, Doncic made his way up to the EuroLeague as a senior member of Real Madrid. Although he played most of the season in Liga ACB, he made 12 appearances in the EuroLeague, averaging 3.5 points, 2.3 rebounds, and 2 assists per game. On November 29th, Doncic set an ACB record with the most points in a game, 15, for a player under the age of 17. The following season, 2016-17, Doncic split time between Liga ACB and the EuroLeague. This was the first year when everybody began to take notice of the unicorn Doncic was dwarfing into. In the quarterfinals of the EuroLeague playoffs, Doncic averaged 11 points, 5 rebounds, and 7 assists, leading Real Madrid to the EuroLeague Final Four and earned MVP of the round. Doncic also earned Player of the Week honors multiple times during his time that season playing in Liga ACB. After playing 42 ACB games during the 2016-17 season, Doncic averaged 7.5 points, 4.4 rebounds, and 3 assists, and through 35 EuroLeague games, he averaged 7.8 points, 4.5 rebounds, and 4.2 assists per game. Doncic was honored with the EuroLeague Rising Star Award by a unanimous vote and also received the ACB Best Young Player Award. The legend has landed. After Real Madrid's star player tore a major ligament in his knee leading up to the 2017-18 season, there was no doubt Luka was going to have to shoulder a heavy load in the EuroLeague as an 18-year-old. In his first EuroLeague game of the season on October 12th, Doncic scored a career-high 27 points to help beat Anadolu Efes. In his next game, he nearly recorded a triple-double against Valencia with 16 points, 10 assists, and 7 rebounds. On October 24th, Doncic was named EuroLeague MVP of the round after exploding for 27 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, and 3 steals. At the end of October, he earned EuroLeague MVP of the Month honors, becoming the youngest player ever to win the award. On December 8th, Doncic set a career high in scoring with 33 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists against Olympiacos Piraeus. In December, the Slovenian sharpshooter was named ACB Player of the Month, becoming the youngest recipient ever. On May 9th, Doncic recorded 17 points, 10 rebounds, and 10 assists in 22 minutes against Real Betis Energia Plus for the first triple-double in the ACB since 2006-07 season and the 7th in league history. When playoff time rolled around, Doncic shined brightest. He finished with 16 points, 7 rebounds, and 2 assists on May 18th in a 92-83 win over CSKA Moscow in the EuroLeague semifinals. On May 20th, he led Real Madrid to a EuroLeague Finals victory. He was named EuroLeague Final Four MVP and soon after was awarded with the EuroLeague MVP award, became its youngest winner after averaging 16 points, 4.9 rebounds, and 4.3 assists per game. He also repeated as the EuroLeague Rising Star, becoming the third back-to-back winner of the award. To put icing on the cake, Doncic earned the ACB Best Young Player and MVP accolades after helping his team defeat Kairobet Baskonia in the league finals. On June 29, 2018, he parted ways with Real Madrid and declared for the NBA draft. Doncic was later nominated to the EuroLeague 2010-20 All-Decade Team. Can the teenager hang? There's not much doubt the Dallas Mavericks scored when they pulled the trigger and traded for Doncic on draft night. Luka proved he could play right away when he netted 10 points and grabbed 8 rebounds and dropped 4 dimes in his NBA debut against the Phoenix Suns. After a tremendous start to the season, Doncic was named NBA Rookie of the Month in the Western Conference for November 2018. On January 21st, Doncic recorded his first NBA triple-double with 18 points, 11 rebounds, and 10 assists against the Milwaukee Bucks. He did not stop there. He finished with 8 triple-doubles on the season and recorded 4 as a teenager, the most all-time. Doncic was again named Western Conference Rookie of the Month for December 2018 and January 2019. Doncic became the 5th player in NBA history to average at least 20 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists in his rookie year, joining Oscar Robertson, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, and Tariq Evans. Doncic was selected unanimously to the All-Rookie First Team and received the NBA Rookie of the Year award, grabbing 98 of a possible 100 first-place votes. He finished the season averaging 21 points, nearly 8 rebounds, and 6 assists per game. Doncic became the second European-born player to win the Rookie of the Year award. Paul Gasol was the first. Doncic has gotten off to a monster sophomore start and is in the early MVP discussion. More importantly, the Mavericks are sitting at 11-6, are in the middle of the Western Conference playoff mix. With newly acquired Kristaps Porzingis back from the ACL surgery, the Mavs have one of the most dynamic duos in the league. Doncic is averaging a whopping 30 points per game while grabbing 10 boards and dropping almost 10 dimes. He has made huge improvements, and the fact that he's only 20 years old is a terrifying proposition for the rest of the league. Who does Luka compare to? Doncic has been compared to both LeBron James and Magic Johnson. As a big point guard, the comparisons are valid, and although Luka does not have the explosiveness, power, and speed of LeBron, and he may not have the vision and ball handling ability of Magic, there are definitely aspects of the game where Doncic compares quite favorably. For example, Magic Johnson never averaged more than 25 points per game in any season during his career. Luka is averaging over 30 points as a 20-year-old. And although LeBron is one of the most versatile players of all time, he has never averaged more than 9 boards for a season. As mentioned earlier, Doncic is averaging double-digit rebounds in his sophomore season. Doncic has gone his whole life competing against players older than him and supposedly better than him. He has always overcome the odds and come out smelling like a rose. He is the real deal, and he is here to stay. The legend of Luka started many years ago. We are very fortunate he chose to bring his game to the States.